everybody, Blugoblin here. Thank you for joining me for a comic book review for the ending of May 2014. Got a lot of books to go through here, so why don't we go ahead and get started. We're going to start off with independent. We're going to start off with Broadsword Comics. We're going to start off with Tarot, Witch of the Black Rose, number 86. This was entertaining. This was a very entertaining issue. It's Licorice Dust, the vampire creature, and her girlfriend, Boo Cat, having an argument. As you know, Boo Cat is horny, and she still is pining over Tarot. And of course, Licorice Dust, her insane jealousy causes them to have a fight. So instead of coming to an understanding and Boo Cat apologizing for, you know, her lust coming out for Tarot once again, she decides after the fight just to go right straight to Tarot and just leaves Licorice Dust behind. And this is where the misunderstandings come along, and it doesn't take long for Tarot and Licky to come to an understanding that they're not fighting each other out of mutual hate. They're fighting each other, and then they realize that it's all because of Boo Cat's selfishness. When Boo Cat gets horny, she doesn't really think about anybody's emotions. She doesn't really think about anybody's feelings. All she thinks about is herself. Both Tarot and Licorice, they bring this out to her. And they both dump her. You know, I mean, and that's pretty much it. I mean, that was pretty much this whole issue in a nutshell. But then Licorice Dust does something at the end of the issue to convince Boo Cat to stay with her and stop pining for Tarot so much, apparently. But all in all, this was an entertaining issue. Nothing perfect, but a decent read. I give it a 3. Alright, we're moving on to Marvel. I got 2 Marvels this week. We're going to Guardians of the Galaxy number 15. Brian Michael Bendis and Nick Bradshaw on the artwork in here. This was a solid read. Now, I'm going to go ahead and point this out right now. If you're a big fan of Captain Marvel, you must have gotten pumped by this cover. Except there's no Captain Marvel in this book. This is one of my biggest pet peeves. It's not the big things that irk me. Sometimes it's the little things. And when a comic book company, doesn't matter who it is, if it's Marvel, DC, Dynamite, Broadsword, or IDW, or Dark Horse, or anything that I read, whenever they put something on the cover, you automatically assume that that said character on the cover is going to appear in here. And there is no Captain Marvel in here. And what this issue was basically the Guardians separately have been captured, and they're individually in a jam to, you know, save their own butts. And it's really well told. Rocket Raccoons was probably one of the most entertaining parts of the book. You know, he's like, oh, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. And then he hears what they're going to do with him, and he's like, oh, please kill me. Please kill me, because if I get out of this, you're going to wish you did. You know, stuff like that. That was great. I mean, that's Rocket. And of course, you got, you know, the I Am Groots. And this is something I need to say right now. When the Guardians of the Galaxy movie comes out, when we see Groot on the big screen, I don't want to hear him say anything else except, I am Groot. If they actually have Groot carrying on intelligent conversations, I'm going to be pissed. Groot is hilarious. Groot is a great character. And all he needs to say is, I am Groot. That's it. And he's a great character. Gamora. Oh, Gamora. Wow, what a woman. What a woman. And what she does in here was awesome. Everything else just clicked very well. Drax, he's got his hands full with the Shi'ar, while Star-Lord is at the mercy of his father's council, you know, the Spartax and everything. And Peter does something at the end of this issue where you think he's going to do one thing and he ends up doing another thing. And it was a nice twist. Adds on to his character development and enhances the storytelling, and it does a great job of that. This was, all in all, a solid read. I enjoyed it. But, like I said, why advertise Captain Marvel? Why advertise Carol being on the cover, saying that she's in it, and she's not in it? Not to mention the stuff with Flash, Venom. Venom comes into a little bit of a skirmish with some very familiar faces. Or are they not so familiar? I'll figure that one out. All in all, a great solid read. Really good stuff. I give this a 4. Alright, moving on to Ms.Marvel, number 4. 4 issues in, and we finally advance. We're finally coming off of this standstill with Kamala's character, and we're finally advancing forward with her character by having her starting to develop her own individual costume. And she's already trying to go by the alias of Ms. Marvel. We figure out how she was able to survive being shot in the last issue, which, honestly, seeing it in here, it's kind of a bit of a cop-out, but, you know, it's Marvel. They do stuff like this. We need to deal with it. But, at the same time, it kind of sort of makes sense, considering that, you know, when she tried to shapeshift back into Carol's Captain Marvel, something went wrong for obvious reasons, and I'm like, okay, that's a nice twist on this cop-out, and it makes it look a little more believable. I did like that. I really did like that twist. But seeing the stuff that Kamala does in here, she's finally stepping forward. We've had like 2 issues of nothing but, should I do this, should I do this, shouldn't I do this, I'm going to get in trouble. We get it. You have a strict raising. You have a strict upbringing with your family. We get it. Let's advance this character some more. And we're finally getting there. And this is where it got really good. Her trying her new suit. Her trying her new identity as Ms. Marvel. And it worked. It was really good. And it leads us to one of those kinds of dun-dun-dun cliffhangers at the end that I really enjoyed. This was a step up from the last issue. This was a really fun read. I enjoyed it. Like I said, nothing perfect. The artwork still needs to be a little bit better. The artwork is good, but I think it could be better. I give this a 3.5 out of 5. Really nicely done. Moving on to DC. We're starting off with DC with Aquaman 31, In the Grip of Swamp Thing. That is an awesome cover, by the way. Arthur and one of the others is going head-to-head with Swamp Thing, and when we see some of the stuff that Swamp Thing does in here, it's pretty breathtaking to look at. And, you know, Arthur and Swamp Thing are having an argument as to something that he believes Swamp Thing is doing, when in fact it may not be Swamp Thing doing what Arthur is accusing him of doing. And on the other end of the storyline, you have Mira going down and down and down depths into the ocean, and we find out the exact place where all these people who want to kill her are dwelling. We get to see more development of her end of the storyline as to who wants her dead, where are they from, why are they doing this. We get to learn more about them. There's some good exposition in here. Not all exposition is droll and lame and kind of repetitive. We actually get some decent storytelling. We actually get more focus on Mira in this issue, and I like that. I love Mira. Very well done. Arthur's stuff in here was really good, especially with stuff involving Swamp Thing. This was a solid read. Very well done. Jeff Parker knows what he's doing. Now, is Jeff Parker's writing as good as Jeff Johns when it comes to Aquaman? Even though I give Jeff Johns a lot of shit here lately, I will give the man credit. Jeff Johns did a fantastic job with Aquaman, and Jeff Parker is doing his best to follow along in that style of storytelling when it comes to this character. If you're one of those people who still look at Aquaman as a joke because of the stupid Super Friends cartoons, then you all need to wake up and realize just how awesome this character can be when written properly. This was a solid read, fantastically done. I'm ready to read the next issue. This was good. I give it a 4. Moving on to Batman number 31. Oh my God. Where do I begin with this? This is going to be painful, guys. 0 year. Final act. Final my ass. When I see a cover of a story that says final act, you would assume this is the final part of the story. Wrong. We still got 2 more parts to this crap before we're finally done with it. Why, DC? Why would you do that? Why would you put final act on a cover when we still got 2 more parts of this story to go? We're not even to the penultimate part of the story yet, and you're already calling this final. If you were to say maybe somewhere in the first page or so that this is the final chapter of 0 Year, or the final story angle, or something like that. But when you give us final act, you would some of your readers, some of them, would automatically assume that this is the final part of the story. What is wrong with you, DC? Can you not come up with any better ways to advertise this story? This storyline, 0 Year, has dragged and dragged and dragged on and on for the longest time. It's gotten to the point where I don't really care anymore. A friend of mine on Facebook asked me about this, and I told him the honest-to-God truth on how I feel on what they're doing with this story. The Riddler, he's a criminal. He's not a damn dictator. This is getting ridiculous on how powerful they've made Edward Nygma in this storyline. And I'm sorry if you are if any of you watching this are really big fans of 0 Year. If you love this story, then that's perfectly fine. I got no problem with that. But I'm here to tell it like it is. This storyline sucks. It's dragging on way too long, and the fact that DC is actually not directly doing it, but actually implying that since this storyline takes place 5 years ago when Batman was in his rookie days, but still implying that he may or may not survive this ordeal, when it's clearly obvious that he did, considering where Batman is now. It's just ridiculous. With a storyline like 0 Year, you would think that this is the kind of storyline on which you begin a series with. Not take a pause in current storytelling. Let's take a story that happened a long time ago and still imply whether or not he lived or didn't live, or didn't survive, or didn't win the battle in the end, when it's clearly obvious that he does. It's a story of not if he wins, but how does he win. That's not as exciting. That's not as gripping. That's not as nail-biting of a cliffhanger as if to say, does he survive? No, we know he survives. The big question is, how does he win? When does he win? How long until he wins? To me, that's not as exciting as, does he win? It's just one of those really big nitpicks with me. I didn't really care for this. The artwork was great. The dialogue was good for what it was. But when I look at the story of 0 Year overall, I may have praised a lot. I may have praised some of it in the past. And I can't take that back. But the longer this story drags on, the less I frickin' care. This book did nothing for me. It's just more of, let's just hype up more Batman. Let's make Edward Nygma way too powerful. And let's drag this storyline out as much as we possibly can. Charge extra dollars for specific points in the storyline. And leave us with an overall really bad taste in our mouths. Because we sometimes forget the fact that DC Comics is the biggest fan base of the character of Batman. DC Comics loves Batman way more than the WWE loves John Cena. And that's the truth. This book was crap. I give it a 2. Moving on to The Flash, number 31. Venditti and Jensen. Now here you go. Here's some really good storytelling. However, it's got another one of those really big pet peeves of mine. Why is Barry Allen killing? I know, a minor spoiler here, but why is Barry Allen using lethal force? I don't care about the excuses. He's going under a lot of psychological trauma. He's really, really stressed because he's so worried about the Speed Force, losing time and everything like that. He feels guilty about letting Wally West supposedly die at some point before the future or something like that. It doesn't matter. The fact is, I'm not used to seeing Barry Allen using lethal force. This is a character I have grew up on. This is a character that people before my time grew up on. This is a character that people after my time are gonna grow up on. This is one of those characters. Barry Allen, the Flash. Barry Allen is one of those characters who's one of those excuse me. He is one of those few remaining pure-cut American good guy superheroes that you don't want to see use lethal force, regardless of how stressed the character is. To see him actually using lethal force and then trying to cover it up with the excuses, well, he's going back to the past to fix something, so this time period may never happen, so it doesn't really matter. Yes, it does matter because we have to see it. You know, I'm spoiling the hell out of this, but Mirror Master is Barry Allen's victim in here. And to see what he does to Mirror Master just looks so out of character. Not to mention what he did to Gorilla Grodd in the last issue. It just doesn't look right to see Barry Allen kill. It didn't look right to see Superman kill in the Man of Steel movie. Yet that's the movieverse, so it's kind of excusable to a certain extent, but still, Superman shouldn't kill. The Flash shouldn't kill. Leave the heroes that, when you think of heroes that kill, you think of the Punisher. That's not who Barry Allen is. It doesn't matter how jealous he is. And another thing, I'm starting to get burnt out on Patty, his girlfriend. I'm starting to get burnt out on her childish jealousy. He can't even talk to Iris West without her going, I'm like, how freaking childish is that? Not to mention the fact that, Wally West has become such a brat. It's just so many changes and so many things looking so out of character. Don't get me wrong, the writing was solid and the artwork was really good. I just can't excuse the fact that I'm just not used to seeing Barry Allen kill people. I'm just not used to it. And I know that excuse is going to get thrown out there. Well, he's going to fix the past, so this timeline doesn't matter, so it doesn't really matter if he kills or not because it's probably never going to happen. But we've seen it. We saw what he did to Grodd. We saw what he did to Mirror Master. Guess what? We saw it. It happened. I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But it was a nice read, considering all the nitpicking and rating I just did. I don't know. Maybe it's just how I am when it comes to certain characters that I grew up on. I give this book a 3. 3.5. Yeah, 3.5. I'll give it a 3.5. I'll be a little nice to it. We're going on to Green Lantern New Guardians number 31. And the search for the White Lantern leads to a world of death. Here you go. This was good. A really shining example of how to do a character right. Kyle Rayner, after doing what he did to Oblivion, he gets shipped off, he gets sent off, doesn't know why, doesn't know how, doesn't know... Yeah, he doesn't know why, he doesn't know how. He's shipped off to this dead planet. I mean, it is a dead planet. The atmosphere is dead. The inhabitants are dead. Everything on this planet is dead and skeletal. So he goes deep down into the Earth's surface, and he notices the surface of the Earth feels kind of bony. And then he comes to the realization that he's on a living planet that is dead. And he uses his ring to charge the heart of the planet, and he realizes that this living planet has a significant connection to Mogo. Now, what that significant connection is, I'm not going to ruin that because it was really a really big revelation what this planet's tie to Mogo really was. And wow, this was really good. You get to see an argument in the mind between this planet and Kyle Rayner. It was done very well. I really enjoyed this. Not much else to say. Not much to say about Carol and the other and the Guardians. It's just the Guardians being who they are, and Carol showing worry for Kyle. That's pretty much it. But the stuff that Kyle and this living planet, and this planet say and how they talk to each other, and seeing what Kyle ultimately has to do, it's really, really emotional and heavy on the drama, and I really liked it. Not compared to Barry Allen, but this was really good storytelling. This was really good. I give this a 4. It was good. Moving on to HeMan and the Masters of the Universe, number 13. The Origin of She-Ra and the Prelude to the Blood of Grayskull. Where exactly is there any origin storytelling for She-Ra? There is none. I didn't see any. This was a prelude to the Blood of Grayskull. In here we get to see what happened 1,000 years ago in Eternia when King Grayskull slew Hordak at the end of the Horde War. And we get to see how King Grayskull celebrates and everything, but there's a traitor among the mist of King Grayskull's followers. And I'm not going to spoil who it is, and I'm not going to spoil how they dealt with King Grayskull. Familiar faces are seen in here, and all I'm going to say is this whole issue was, oh my god, this was good. If you grew up on characters like HeMan and the Masters of the Universe, like I did in the 80s, maybe in the early 2000s, maybe even in that god-awful cartoon where He-Man's in space or whatever, He-Man is one of those timeless characters that still manages to be entertaining to people of all generations, and this was a good example of how to tell a modern-day He-Man story and keep you compelled, keep you wanting to read more. And hell, we just came off the last storyline in which King Randor, we found out that King Randor has supposedly been dead for years, and King Randor was actually King Hiss in disguise. And it was even implied that King Hiss may have been under the guise of King Randor when He-Man was born. Oh my god. And not to mention we learned that Orko had betrayed them and turned evil. And then we get to this stuff which preludes all of that with King Grayskull. This has been a phenomenal series. This was awesome. I give this a 4.5. This was good. And then we move on to Red Hood and the Outlaws, number 31. Oh my god, this book bored me. I would think that everybody, once they got Scott Lobdell away from this series, I thought this was going to pick up. Man, was I wrong. And the last issue did nothing for me, and then it gave me the cliffhanger of the main man, Lobo. Lobo was going to be in this issue. I was so excited, and then I read this, and I'm just like, oh my god. Only DC would take one of their most popular characters and make me not care. Why is Lobo so intelligent in this issue? Maybe it's because I grew up with the smart-ass Lobo. The Lobo who was like predating Deadpool. Like I've said before, my former mentor Craig from the Grandland video blog that he used to do on YouTube, he'll even tell you, all you people out there who read Deadpool, this was Deadpool before Deadpool was Deadpool. This was my Deadpool. This was your dad's Deadpool. You know, Lobo was Deadpool before Deadpool existed. And to see Lobo in this fashion just really let me down. He just came off as way too intelligent, way too smart. Some of that attitude that I knew from Lobo is still there, but it's like, why is he so tech smart? You know, it's like the Lobo from the Superman cartoon and the Justice League cartoon. That was a good Lobo for me. That's who I think of when I think of Lobo. You know, this awesome biker-like bounty hunter who doesn't give a damn. You know, he's dirty, he's gritty. He's not supposed to be super intelligent with technology. When the hell did that come into play? And not to mention the last page showed us the real Lobo for DC, because DC stupidly thinks that giving us a skinny new Lobo that has nothing to do with the Lobo that we have known for so many years. DC stupidly thinks that that's going to get over and that's going to make more fans. And DC stupidly thinks that that's not going to alienate any longtime Lobo fans. Yeah, they stupidly think that. Oh, let's bring out a new character and call him Lobo, and then take this character that people have known for so many years, maybe even decades, and say, this was never really Lobo. Are you serious, DC? This book was dull. This book was boring. 1.5. Bad. Moving on to Red Lanterns number 31. This was easily the best book DC pumped out this week. Easily. The Bloody Rule of the Judge. That cover is awesome. Now, I didn't read part 2 of this story with Supergirl 31, so I don't know what happened there. But in here, we get to see the Red Lanterns coming to grips with this new Red Lantern. This new Lantern, the Judge, she's got her hands full with Atrocitus and Dexstar, while the other Lanterns are trying to find a way to get through to her. And Kara does something in here kind of reckless, but at the same time it's better than just standing there doing nothing. And this pisses off Atrocitus, and Atrocitus and Guy Gardner end up having a big stare down at the end of this issue. You would think they would come to blows right there and then. You know, it'd be that simple, right? No, there's a little catch. Atrocitus has something hanging over Guy's team of Red Lanterns that he can totally use to his advantage and totally mess with Guy Gardner's head. And you know what? Damn it, it works. I thought, okay, this is a good way to get some heat on Atrocitus and make you want to see Guy Gardner overcome the odds and get his hands on Atrocitus once and for all. And when they do eventually come to blows, I'm expecting it to be pretty damn awesome. This was a solid read. I loved this. This was fantastic. I give it, it's not a perfect 5 out of 5, but I give it a 4.5. It was really good. A truly underrated series. Get yourself on board with Red Lanterns. Now, this is just my opinion that I think this is a very underrated series, because I hardly ever see anybody else on the internet talk about this series and show it any praise. Maybe some people who are watching this video think that Red Lantern sucks, and if they think that, then that's fine. But I personally think that Red Lanterns is an underrated series. It's one of the best series that DC is putting out right now. Fantastic. I loved it. And we're going to end this, unfortunately, with another sour note. Suicide Squad number 30, a tie-in to Forever Evil that was almost as delayed and late as Forever Evil's conclusion was. This book did nothing for me. Absolutely nothing. Look at this cover. This cover's awesome. And this was the best thing about the book, was the damn cover. You got Harley, Captain Boomerang, Black Manta, King Shark, Deadshot, James Gordon Jr. And only 2 of them are in this book. And that's Deadshot and Manta. There's no Harley. There's no Boomerang. There's no Shark. There's no Gordon Jr. There's a lot of Deadshot, a lot of Black Manta, and a lot of Amanda Waller. And this was basically getting rid of this run and getting us ready for new Suicide Squad number 1. Yet they can't just go Suicide Squad number 31, 32, 33. No, we got to renumber it back to number 1, because that's something Marvel likes to do, so we're going to do that instead. So, instead of progressing the series even further down the line with a 31, 32, 33, just changing the team, we're just going to go and restart it right back to number 1. Why? What's the point? What is really the point of renumbering this back to number 1 with the word New Suicide Squad on the cover? Why? What purpose does that serve? It doesn't. It doesn't have any purpose. I don't get it. I really don't get it. This book was crap. It did nothing for me. It's just... I'm done with this. I'm not getting Suicide Squad or New Suicide Squad number 1. Should I say Suicide Squad number 31? That's what it should be. But I'm not getting on board with the New Suicide Squad. I'm done with this. I'm done. I'm dropping this from my poll. It's turned to crap. This was one of those series from the New 52 that had both hits and misses. When it had a hit, it was good to read. When it had a miss, it was painful. And this is another painful miss from DC and this series. I give this a 1. That's all I got for this week, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed it, and I hope y'all enjoyed me ranting and complaining as well as praising and loving. Don't forget to subscribe. Check out my other channel, Blugoblin X. Don't forget my bro, TheMtVernonKid, everybody at Dark Adventure Inc. Plus. Don't forget Mark at Fat Stack of Comics. And of course, my old buddies, Deadpoolzilla and Brandon Hex. And Hex, keep rocking those classic X-Men videos. They've been good. A little long, but they're good. And Deadpoolzilla's still rocking them Godzilla reviews. Thanks for watching, everybody. And until next time, I'll see y'all later.